Hello, good people. Welcome back to another episode of creating an app, and we're using Xamarin Forms. We've got a moving background, we got a moving ball, and the ball can tell you what decisions you have to make. Yeah, let's just get into it. Let's see, create a new project. We want to make this project for Windows, Android, and iOS. So we'll use the mobile app Xamarin Forms. We'll call this DecisionMaker app. And I'll put the solution in the same directory. Create. I want to make this also for Windows, so I'm selecting this check mark here. And we're going to start just with a blank app. And the blank app will give us just one screen. And that's exactly what we need because we're just using one screen. So let's create this project. And let's just wait for it to set up. Here we are. We'll have the UWP app selected. Let's open the shared folder. In the shared folder, we'll see we have a main page. This is the screen that you will see when the app starts up. So let's start with creating some UI elements inside here. Well, you can already see it has some elements inside it. That's because when you create a project, it will show you at least something inside here. So when I run the app, we can see what it has generated for us and how we can change it. So we have a frame, we want to get rid of it. Label, we want to get rid of everything. So what we need to create is a grid. We do not need a stack layout. So let's just start with a grid. So the grid needs to have some columns because I want the ball to be in the middle. And when I stretch the sizes or I use it on different devices, I want the ball to be 3 times the size in the middle as it has on the side. So I'm going to say the left side is star, and then the middle is 3 star, and then the right side is again 1 star. And then I'm going to enter this. Then we have a grid here, and then we can fill in some of its contents. Okay, so we need a background. What we're going to use is an image, and we're going to set this image to a source. We do not have the source yet. We need this aspect to fill it up, so we're going to use aspect fill. I think that's all we need. We might have to also give this a name. So let's call this red background. And then I think, of course, because we're using columns, we have 3 columns, and the background should span all the columns. So we're going to say in this grid, the column span should be 1, 2, 3, right? So column span 3. So and next we're going to have a ball, but this ball will be in an image, but we'll also need to have a label in it. So the best thing to do is to create a grid inside of this grid, and that grid also holds the ball and the label over it. So we're going to use a grid. We want this ball to only appear in the middle of the screen, so in the 3 star, this one. So we're going to say in this row, the grid row will be 1 because we count like this, right? 0, 1, 2. So it will be in column 1. And then I'm gonna like this, and we're going to have an image here, and the source will be set to red ball. I think we're gonna add this later, what this has to be. We're gonna have a label over it, and this is going to be my answer label. All right, let's give this a name also. This will be red ball. And we want this one inside of the column to be horizontally centered. We also want this vertically to be centered. And we want the background to be transparent. So in this label, we're going to do a word wrap. Line break mode, word wrap, because on some devices, when the text is too much to fill up the ball, then it will have to make sure that it goes nicely to the next line. I'm going to give it a margin of 20, so when the answer is too long, it will not clip on the sides of the ball. Just like the ball, we need this to be horizontally centered. We also need this to be vertically centered. And we also need the horizontal text alignment to be centered. We want this font size to be title. Then on all the platforms it will be the title size. We want these font attributes to be bold, then we can read it pretty good. Also, when this is on the foreground and the image on the background, and the image ball will be red, so the best thing for this is to have a light color text. So let's say the text color is white. And let's say the opacity is 0.65, and that's like 65% opacity, and that will give it the idea that it's inside of the ball. So now we need to add some sources for these images. So let's say the red ball. We have a redball.png for this, and we have a source for the background, and it's redbackground.jpg, I think. Now we just need to import these into our app. For UWP, we have to add the assets to the project. So right click on the project of UWP. Then of course you need to download the source files, and the source files are in the Git repository, and that's in the description below. I can just take them from a machine because I already downloaded them some time ago. It's here, and now we're going to do we're going to add the red background. JPEG. All right, and now we're going to run this and see what this looks like on UWP, and if it works, we'll have to add these assets to iOS and Android as well. It's not quite what I thought it would be. And that is because our image has a span of 3, so that's right. I see. I've put this this image with the label inside of a grid row 1, but I have not declared any grids here, and I didn't mean to put them in grid row 1. I meant to put it in the column, of course. So let's see what that looks like. This is better, right? So the background now has the red background.jpg, and it's an aspect fill, and now we have a grid inside of it in the middle column, and it has an image, the red ball, and over it is the label. We cannot see the label, but we can test it, of course, by just giving it a text. So this is an manual answer, and then we should see, yes, and also it does the line break mode correctly. So with this word, it would have gone to the edge, and now it puts it underneath. So this is exactly the behavior that I want. So the next thing to do is we want to move these images. We want the background to zoom in and zoom out really slowly to give it this sort of magical effect. So that's what we're going to do now. So for that, we're going to the code behind of the main page. Then in the main page, we're going to say we're going to override the onAppearing method. And this method fires when the screen appears. So at the moment the screen appears, I want to start zooming in and zooming out of my background, and I want it to loop forever. So let's do that right now. I've named the background red background. So let's just say here AnimateBackground. Now we've made a method that also is really descriptive. But I also like to just put in the summary what it does. So then we're going to get rid of this, and then we're going to put the magic code here. So to animate the background, we're going to call on the red background, and we have this fantastic method that's already on side of this UI element, and that's called the scale2. And the scale2 takes some parameters. It has a scale, it has a length, then the length is in milliseconds, I think, and there's a an easing enumeration that we can call. So ease in, ease out. To your preference, you can choose what they should be. So let's just say we want to scale this to 2, and that means it's going to go to 200%. And I want this done in about 10 seconds. So if this is in milliseconds, I have to say it's 10 times 1000, so 10,000. And the easing, I want this to be sin in out. Right, so when it starts up like a sinus, and then after that is done, I want it to return to the state that it was in. So in 10 seconds it will go back to 100%, so how it was at the start. If we want this to happen after each other, we need to make sure that these are awaited. And if we await these asynchronous calls, we'll have to say this is a asynchronous method. All right, now let's see what this looks like. Oh, my computer is having a little bit of difficulties, but as you can see, we have zoomed in and now we're zooming out again. It went from 100% to 200% and now from 200% to 100% in 10 seconds. The thing is, we want this to continue endlessly, right? So we should put it in a loop, and that's what we're going to do now. So let's create a while loop and make sure that this is inside of the while loop. The while loop will continue running until some variable is true. So let's say we have a boolean here, keep running, and we'll say this is true, and I'll have to check my spelling, and we'll just put keep running here, and while running is true, it will continue doing this. Let's see if this works. We're zooming out, so right now we're going back to 100%, and after 100% it's going back to 200% again. So this is exactly what we want, and we also see the slow fading in and the slow scaling in and the slow scaling out because of the sin in out that we chose. And right now our next task is to animate the ball. Also, we've put the ball inside of the middle column, and the middle column should always be 3 times the size as the left and the right size. So in that way, we've made sure that even if we show this on a small device, the screen will still show the ball in its totality, and it will scale up pretty nicely. And because of the word wrap that we put in there as a line break, it will make sure that it will be nicely shown on all devices, even if it's a small screen. Okay, so next thing to do is to animate the ball. Let's see, to animate the ball, we just have to say AnimateBall. Let's make this a separate method. I am pressing Ctrl dot, and then it will generate the method for me. Now I will also give this a summary because I just like summaries. This animates the ball up and down. So we've just seen that for the UI element of an image, we have the scale to methods. For moving something up and down, we have the, let's say we get the red ball because we named it red ball, and we press dot, and we have the, what is it again, the scale to. No, sorry, I'm confused. That's the last one. Translate to. We have the translate to function. It takes a lot of parameters. It needs to know on the x-as where it goes and on the y-as. So on the x-as we're going to do nothing. On the y-as, let's say it moves up 50 dots or pixels, or no, those are points actually. So for different screens it can be different pixels, but it's 50 points all across the platforms. We can now say what time we want this to take, and let's just say this is going to take 1000 milliseconds, so 1 second to move up, and also after that again 1 second to move down. Let's also use the easing enumeration sin in, sin out, because I like it really much. And then after we're done translating the UI image in 1 second, 50 points up, let's go 50 points down. And if we keep doing this from the start position, it will go up 50 and then it will go down 50, and we have a moving ball. We have to await these also, or they will run at the same time. If we await them, then we have to create a asynchronous function, and if we want this to play forever, we should create a boolean, and this boolean is set to true. So if we create a while loop and we say as long as keep running is true, we will keep animating this. So let's see if what we've created is a moving background with a ball that goes up and down. Well, this is starting to look like it. In the sense as the background is moving and the ball is moving, but as you can see, the label is not moving with the ball yet. Although I could just use the grid to animate both the ball and the label. So let's try that. In the main page, let's say this grid has a name. This grid is called red ball grid. And then we go to the code behind, and in the red ball grid is also the label. So I'm curious to see if we animate this, if we animate also the label at the same time. And if that's true, then we have found a solution for not doing the same animation over two visual elements. So it really looks like this is working. We have moved the grid up and down, and it keeps running. So when it goes up 50, then it goes down 50, then it checks if keep running is true. Well, it's always true because we're never changing this, and then it goes up again, down again, up again, down again. And this looks really nice. So the only thing left to do is to create answers and to make sure that at some point the user can click on the ball and then or press on the ball, and then the ball will show him a different answer with like some kind of random mechanism. So let's create the random answer label. So the first thing we have to create in the main page is a property, and you can use the word prop, and then an IntelliSense will figure out what to put there. Let's say tab, and then this is an integer, but we want to have a list of strings. And the list of strings will be my answers. So like this. So these answers need to be initiated once at startup when we have initialized our components and the page is created. Let's then fill our answers with a new list of strings. We'll have answers like yes, no, no, maybe, I don't know, whatever you think, definitely. Let's keep it like this. Now we'll have to make sure that in the UI, when we press the ball image, that we will get a answer. So let's make sure that the image is clickable. So we go to our main page XAML. In our main page XAML, we have our ball here. There's this thing that's called the ImageButton, and the ImageButton has this neat functionality that we can just say it has a clicked event, and this clicked event will be red ball clicked. When we put our cursor there, we can press F12 and then we go into the code behind. But you can also just press here and go to the code behind. I'd like to give this also a summary, and that will be like user pressed the red ball, show an answer. Alright, so in our main page .xaml we have a label, that's the answer label, and the answer label is what we're going to use here. So when the user presses here, it runs this method, and we're gonna say AnswerLabel.text is, and then we'll grab the answers, of course, and inside of the answers we will select randomly a text. So let's say new random, something like this, right? Dot next, was it again? Next, and then it needs to know from how many counts it can. It has, of course, the answer.count, and now it will select randomly from the number of answers that we have. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 answers. So it will select 0 to 5, and then it will select one out of the answers, and it will put it in the text right here. So let's check if that's working. So let's see if this is working. I'm going to press somewhere inside of this image button, and then it should show me randomly some other answer. So let's ask it a question like, are you going to give me a random answer back? Well, it's working. And if I press again, it randomly takes something out of the answer labels, the answer list. All right, so there's one thing to do to make the front end a little bit more compelling and nicer. It would be nice if the ball at first does not show any text, and when you press it, it shows the text, but only with some kind of fade in to make it a little bit more mysterious. So let's make sure this text label answer fades in and out. We're going to say this answer label fades to, and then I don't know, I have to check what this has. It has the opacity, so let's say from 0 it goes to 0. Let's say it first goes to 0, and it does it in like 500 milliseconds, so half a second. And I really like the easing algorithm of the syn in out, so let's take that. And when it has given us a answer, then it will be invisible. Then it will put an answer there, and then I want it to be visible again. So I'm going to put my cursor here, Control C, then put it here, Control V, and then the only thing I have to change is this opacity. We have to put it back to 65% because our answer label should be a little bit transparent, right? We need to make sure that this call is awaited, and we need to make sure that this call is awaited also, and for that we need to put this method as asynchronous tag. There's just one more thing left to do, and in the main page we have to make sure that the answer label does not have a answer already. So we can just we can clear this tag. Right now I think we're all done, and let's see if this is working. So right now it's not showing any answer, and if I click on the ball, we will see a fade in with the answer no. Then when I click again, it should fade out. Then there should be a new random answer, and then it should fade in again. So let's see if that works. That looks really good, although I say so myself. We have now created an application that is some kind of decision maker. And if you don't know what to do, or if you don't know whether to subscribe to my channel, just look at this app, click on it, and it will tell me that I should maybe subscribe to this channel. Oh, there's one more thing to do. We have to make sure that these assets are also working for Android and iOS. So we have our UWP running, but in our Android project and iOS project, we do not have the red background and also not the red ball as an image. So we're going to add them now. Let's make sure that we have Android first. Set as start project. Then we open the Android project, and then inside here we have the resources, and in the drawable we're going to add existing item, and it's going to be the red ball. And this is also going to be added. We're also going to add the red background. Let's just test on Android whether or not this is working. So let's take a phone. It has to simulate the Android device on a Windows machine. That took a really long time. The green process bar is showing finally. That means that it's still going to take some time, but at least we're making progress. It's here. It's here. It's coming. Come on. Please have no bugs. Woo! There it is. So yeah, let me click here. And it works. Never been so happy. All right. Nice. Right, so also on Android, this seems to be working. So now let's do the same for iOS. So in iOS, it's a little bit different. On UWP, you place the images in the project level, and in Android, you put it in the resources in the drawable level, and in iOS, we will need to use the asset catalog. We'll open the asset catalog, and then we'll open the assets, and inside here we can plus an image set here. Let's say we're going to add an image set, and the best thing to do is to just add a vector here. And the best, how you can do that is to convert your images to your PNG, your JPEG, convert them to PDF. I've already done this. You can do this online, like Google something like image to PDF converter. So vector, red background, and it's a PDF. And then I will rename this to red background, and you have to make sure that this is the same name that you use as a source in the main page. So the name, no, that's not true. The source here, this should be also case sensitive, the same word, right? Then we're going to add the red ball. PDF, and to check it, I'll have to turn on my Mac server. I have a Mac Mini here that's in server mode. It has to start up, and then I'm using VNC viewer to connect to the Mac Mini. Here we are. Continue. It will not have a big bit rate or something because I'm doing this over the network, but at least we can see whether or not this works in the simulator. Then I'm going to connect my Mac in my Visual Studio. I can use this one, pair to Mac. There's already a Mac Mini here, but I don't think that's the right IP address. Let's check if it can get a connection. It changed the IP address to 281, and it seems to have a problem. Logged into this Mac with another account, so that means I'll have to forget about this Mac. Yes, forget about it. And then we're just going to pair it again, and it's still not good. Restart Visual Studio, sometimes that works. There's some quirks there. If you work with multiple accounts, it can get a little bit confused because it keeps a lot of its stuff in caching folders. And it uses some, I think they're caching also the sign in, so the user accounts. So let's see if we can connect our Mac next. Add a Mac. Mac Mini. It has found one Mac. Let's connect. And now we can sign in with some other details. So that's a tip for all you guys. If you're connecting to a server like an iMac or a Mac Mini, something that you put as a Mac server, and you're switching accounts, it might give you an error. But then you have to just restart Visual Studio, and it will ask for your sign-in details again. So it connected successfully, and now we're checking some provisioning information. And after that, we see that it has completed successfully. So now we have a active connection to the Mac. And if we now say our start project is iOS, set as start project, then we will see that we have the simulators here that we can choose from. Let's just say we have an iPad Pro 11-inch 3rd generation, and we want to see what this app looks like. When I open my connection to my Mac, we will see that at some point it will start a simulator on the Mac Mini, and we can see it being opened here in a minute. So while we are waiting, I might be able to show you how to put your Mac or your iMac or your Mac Mini into a position that it can be used as a server for your iOS builds. You can just go here, and then you go to System Preferences. And then you have the sharing here. And at sharing, you can checkmark the remote login, and you can just choose all users here. And then the way I find my Mac Mini server is by using this computer names. Alright, so it's put the DecisionMaker app on it. Now it's starting up. It will probably not look smooth because it's sending me these images over the network, and it will just be really slow as well. Right now we can see the background has been moved, the ball is moving, and if we press inside of the ball, we should be shown an answer. Yeah, this doesn't look good. I will put the video of my iPhone in it. Alright, so that's all. If you want to show this app to your friends, or you want to check it on a device, you go to your, let's say you want to do it for Android, put it in release, then you right click here, you press a rebuild, and after that you archive it. And here it's going to archive the project. You can see in my other videos how you can put this on your device as an APK, and how you can test this or send this to other people to enjoy it. Alright, hopefully you guys have learned something. If you like this sort of video where I go from zero to a full app, just let me know in the comments below. I will read them, and I will hopefully see you guys next time. Bye.